Hello and welcome to Fools in Fiction. It has been a few weeks because it is the end of the semester and the election is happening.
Also,
in fact,
democracy is fucking ending.
As we record this, I will project hours away from the end, not of democracy, but of the election. Hopefully for the Biden to win.
The Biden.
Hopefully for our own Joseph to win.
Yeah, it's me. I'm the one that's going to win. I am Joe Mama.
Yeah, let us know, podcasters or podcast listeners, who won.
I couldn't figure out what you were doing in that.
I was just turning down.
Yeah, but I was like, my brain couldn't process that it was volume. I thought it was just brightness that you were turning down for some reason.
I'm not allowed to see my phone.
I'm like, why? Alright,
we're talking about Code Lyoko.
We are. That's the subject of today's episode.
So, what got us started into this? Was it seeing it on Netflix?
It was seeing that it was on Netflix, and then I started watching it with Luke and Sean.
And I started listening to the theme song in the car.
And, well, also, what happened was that we were just like, hey, we should watch something bad. And so we pulled up on Netflix and we watched Johnny Test, and we watched half of one episode, and it was so bad I left the Zoom call in revulsion. Yeah. And Finn and Cody, I think, watched the first couple of episodes of Code Lyoko.
Yeah, we watched the first 3, I think. And it was something where I was like, oh god, is this going to be Johnny Test? And then I was like, thank the fucking god. It is not Johnny Test, it is much better.
Yeah, so I don't know if you watched it as a kid.
I did.
Okay.
I watched a good chunk of it.
Part of me tells me that I watched all of it, but I don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Hold on. Session burp. Oh. Alright, session burp over. Any other burps will come directly out of my paycheck. So... God, I'm so fucking spaced out right now. Oh, Code Lyoko, watching it as a kid.
Right. Oh, yeah, okay.
I just, like... It's really interesting, because as a kid, you just, like, you watch more, episodic stuff, and you're just like, yay, my favorite characters and everything, but as you grow up, you want more, is it serialized is the word I want?
I think so.
Okay, more serialized stuff where there's, like, a long arching plot, and,
So we're just talking about season 1 right now.
Yeah, because that's all I've seen thus far. I finished season 1 at 1 in the morning last night. Well, whatever. Last night covers any time before 5 a.m.
Yeah, and I'm like 15 episodes into season 2, I think.
Yeah, the big problem for me is I don't know when I'm going to get into it, because I have like a shit ton of projects. I want to show you what projects I have due after this. It's bad.
All right. But anyway, that's our background. Is we both watched it as wee lads, and now we are rewatching it. But we're just talking about season 1.
Yes,
so that's the overall.
I can't believe there's actually somewhat of an overarching plot to it.
They do a really good job of having like threads that weave in and out while being episodic.
Yeah. I think the idea of we need to unvirtualize Aelita or whatever.
Materialize.
That's the one. I'm like, make her physical.
3D printer.
Yeah. That's what it's called now. The idea that we need to 3D print Aelita, I think, went on for like a little too long.
I think it worked as it ends when the season ends, right?
Well, yeah. I thought, like, the ending of it was good.
I was so happy when Aelita was sitting there at the bottom of the scanner. I was like...
She was in, like, full fetal mode,
yeah.
Though, where I'm just like, who hurt you? No, I like that it came to a head, but I thought that, like, Jeremy's motivation being stretched out for so long felt a bit weird.
Because it was a very long season 1.
Yeah, because every time we would see an episode, Jeremy would be like, I've got to work on Aelita. And I'm like, Jeremy, please, fucking do your homework.
I'm pulling up the relevant clip.
Oh.
I've been saving some clips and sending them to the chat.
Oh, I know what you're looking for.
I've interrupted the flow in my search for this.
That's fine.
Here it is. Shit, I fucked it up.
You how dare you? You've ruined the podcast.
Jeremy this morning? I think he spent the night in the laboratory. He was working on something really important.
It's like that's every episode.
Yeah. Which I found frustrating because I thought that I won't say every other character had deeper motivations, but I thought they had varied ones where Odd's motivations were being the craziest person on Earth and also being into this one girl for one episode.
Right.
And then Ulrich's motivation is fuck sissy, all my homies hate sissy, also I love Yumi.
Yeah.
Yumi's motivation is my parents are strict and also I maybe love Ulrich.
Yes.
Kiwi's motivation is to piss off Jim.
Yes, and not get caught.
Yeah.
I think because anytime they see Kiwi, time gets reversed. So up to this point, no one besides the main crew knows that Kiwi exists.
Yeah, I think that's true. Which is interesting. I don't know. I thought that I think a really good thing about this that I think a lot of good stories do is have a peak of world building and then let other people think about it, which sounds lazy, but so with Harry Potter, I was thinking about this because there's a shit post. I'm gonna try and find it real quick. I'm also gonna break up the flow.
So do you mean pose a lot of questions and answer half of them?
Kind of, but I'm more thinking that the goblins run all of the banking in Harry Potter, supposedly, but we only see one place. So are those goblins in charge of all of the money all over the world? Do different goblins run different banks? Yeah. Are there competing banks? Do creatures other than goblins run banks?
I was trying to figure out, does the Return to the Past program only apply to Earth, or does it do the whole universe? Or
which I think, I really, really hate that, so the question of who is Xana is, kind of answered in that it's just a computer. But
it's definitely not a computer.
Or an AI within a computer on Lyoko.
And, okay, so I will spoil some tiny things in Season 2.
That's fine.
The things the smoke is not at all Xana. That is not Xana.
Okay.
That is Xana's ghosts.
Interesting.
And they are literal ghosts.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if they're dead people, but they can possess people and go through walls and stuff.
Whack.
And they talk to Xana. One of them calls them up on the phone, and one episode Xana, I await your orders.
So yeah, that's one of the things is what is Xana? What's Xana's goal?
And why the fuck is Aelita in there?
Yeah.
How did she get in there?
So I think that's a really kind of dangerous thing to do, because if you don't answer it eventually, people are gonna get pissed. But I think right now it's fine in that kids, what's gonna happen next?
Something that I think really kind of anchors the season, is the kind of emotional goal of, oh god, we gotta get Aelita out of there. I think that feels it makes the fights and everything and all the consequences feel like they're actually important. And something I was thinking a lot about while watching Season 1 was this show could very easily have been they enjoy spending time in Lyoko and it's a video game. But no, Lyoko was their battlefield. They try and spend the least amount of time there as possible, and they're trying to rescue someone from there.
I think they also made a good point of Lyoko being bad.
Yeah,
and
Lyoko's a shit place to be. And Aelita does not enjoy being there.
Yeah, well, because you only have sight and hearing as your two senses.
Yes, this meant hearing. I made the touch motion to mean hearing.
Well, because I was I know they cannot touch or feel sensations or whatever, but I really liked that because shows like Dragon Tales or Cyber Chase kind of focus on this place being a getaway.
Oh, so cool, we're off in the virtual world. Whereas this is we gotta get Aelita out, who can only feel two senses and is trapped in the hell world.
Yeah.
And just being we gotta help a friend, I think is a much better, a much more relatable emotion, and having that set in a cool virtual world is just like a really good recipe for a good show, I think.
I think Digimon does that also.
I don't know anything about Digimon.
So like the core. I'm going to break Digimon down to its bare essentials. Which is, these kids get put in virtual reality and find, like...
digital monsters.
Yeah, there we go. And they find, like, these Pokemon-like creatures, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be like, I love the digital world, it's so much fun to be here. But no, like throughout the seasons, like, for most of them, it's like, I miss my Digimon friends, but I do not miss... like, the dangers of being in the digital world.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
And the whole, like, theme of Code Lyoko, right? Well, the theme song is called A World Without Danger. And they're trying to, like, remove the danger, which is caused by the virtual world.
I still find it interesting, like...
also known as Lyoko.
I find it interesting, like, the different levels of threat that Xana poses. Because during, like... like the first episode or whatever, like it's a very minor thing, and then
I don't want to make any facial expressions because you're about to say something that would cause me to reveal a spoiler.
But like one of them is like Xana has hacked into a laser satellite and will kill Yumi if we do not stop Xana. And like, so the really great thing is like a lot of it seems targeted at the gang. But sometimes there's the episode where they're like, Xana's going to blow up the power plant and destroy France if we... Yeah. And I'm like, good God. So I don't know. I
think they're going to have to do something soon to establish Xana as a villain, I think.
Yeah, well, because, like... I think the interesting thing is we don't have any motivations.
Right.
Other than, fuck these kids.
Right.
But, like, I don't know. I also think we got fucking robbed of seeing Jeremy being virtualized. And I know we probably see it later, but, like, during season 1, he's like, I'm gonna get virtualized, and then he gets put in the fucking nether.
Yeah. I will say something. In season 2, he goes to Lyoko, but we don't see it at all. And the only thing we know is Odd says he looks like... what does he say? He looks like, quote-unquote, really stupid. This is the only thing we hear.
No!
But Jeremy, like, canonically goes to Lyoko. Just, like, we never see it.
God, that's worse.
He's just, like, not a fan.
I still think the best thing to come out of season 1 is 2D Jeremy touching 3D Aelita in the fucking really creation of Adam Image. I don't know, like, it's... I think one of the really great things is also these kids are, like, just kids.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your kind of, like, shonen stuff like this, where it's young kids doing crazy stuff, they're, like, more mature, or, like, battle-hardened, or whatever. And, like, in some things, like, Ava and Gundam, where it's, like, about child soldiers, like, in the culture of that, like, sure, that can exist, and you're deconstructing, like, the surroundings of it.
Yeah.
But in a lot of things, it's just like, oh man, these kids are like so mature and their bullies are just being rude to them. But in this one, it's like, no, they fucking like are assholes to Sissy and her crew.
Yeah, I also like that when Xana like sends his monsters to the normal world, or like there's some big problem in the normal world. Like, they are very, like, much, like, physically just kids. Like, they'll go out in a single hit from a monster.
Yeah, and they're like... They can't... I think also having the lab be, like, a set piece is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't, like, kick ass anywhere.
Right. They like, there's very particular conditions they have to meet in order to become superheroes.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool, because, like... You know, it's kind of like Superman in that, like, he can't show off anything. So they had... Are you gonna do it?
I did it. I'm done.
So Finn was, like, going over to, like, cough into his elbow.
Oh, no, I'm
or
burping.
sneeze. Oh, okay. But I thought it was just Finn fucking dabbing away for a second. And I'm like, why are you doing this? So, like, Superman as Clark Kent can't, like, go out and save the day all the time. Like, he has to pretend to be Clark, and he has to, like, find reasons to go away to be able to transform.
It's, I don't want to say too much. There's something they do with that in Season 2 that's really, really good.
Oh, that's cool.
That, like, it provides a much stronger limitation on the stuff that happens in the outside world. Like, what they can do and can't do and can get away with.
I also really liked the, like... They have to suffer consequences, even if they're like not like the consequences of people died, but like there was like Jim catches them and he's like, "Aha! I've caught you, you fucking scoundrels!" And they're like, "You caught us!" And Jim's like, "What? Oh, what? You're not just gonna get away with this?" And I was like, "Good God!"
Yeah. Although they do end up getting away with it, right? They do.
Well, but like
to the past.
Yeah, but they like even then they're like, "Yeah, Jim, we were gonna prank Herb and Nicholas," and like that's not what they were doing. But like,
oh, we're talking about two different things.
No, you're thinking of like the episode before.
I'm thinking of the Jimbo incident.
Yes, God, the Jim.
Jim has done nothing in Season 2 so far, which makes me upset.
That's unfortunate.
We did, like, the one thing is he's, like, acted like an army person for some reason. Like, that's just one thing he's done in Season 2. I'm like, what happened, Jimbo?
But, like, I don't know. I also thought that, there was... I think they teach, like, decent moral lessons.
It's really interesting to me how they're... Like, the big thing I was kind of worried about with Code Lyoko is each episode is, here's some basic moral lesson for children, which, like, happens.
Sometimes.
But sometimes it's literally like, France will blow up.
Well, because in episode 1, they have the moral lesson of you should be kind to young people. Because, like, that, right. What's her name? I forget the...
Tamia and
Millie.
Yeah.
I knew Tamia, and I'm like, that's not her name. That's the so Millie asks out Auric, and like having the like foresight of being a kinder person. He's like, sure, I'll go to this dance with you, and like, oh, the message is be kind, but sometimes it's just like there are nanomachines, and I should not ingest them.
Yeah, it's. I think it does a really good job of balancing, like, having a very, like, sticking to the world versus sticking to, like, our world. That didn't make any sense.
But, like, well, I know what you mean, where it's, like, sometimes...
Teaching a lesson or sticking to its plot.
Yeah, because, like, sometimes it feels like the characters are, like, looking at us and being like, remember, kids, smoking is bad.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes they're just, like, in their own world doing whatever.
Which makes them feel more real.
Yeah. Because, like, I don't, like... Sure, I love my niece and nephews, and if they were like, I'm thinking about smoking, I'd be like, no, that's, like, smoking's bad for your health. But I'm also not going to give them a Christmas gift that's, like, a big sweater that says smoking is bad for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I think, like, one of the things I really like about Lyoko is just it's so very, like, innocuous. And like...
What do you mean by that?
Well, like, it was before TV got really, like, grimdark for kids, at least. Which, I mean, I like a TV show that has, like, dark things mixed with, like... So, like, Ruby and, Fuck! The new episode of Ruby releases tomorrow.
Oh, shit.
Shut everything down. God, so, but, like, Ruby and the Dragon Prince and kind of stuff like that, I think has a place. But, like...
The kind of lightheartedness of Code
Yeah,
Lyoko.
and another thing is, like, I'm going to sound like a boomer, but, like, I do not like some of the shows that are only, like, random stuff. So, like, Teen Titans Go and, like, what else? The
SpongeBob SquarePants.
No! Because here's the thing. SpongeBob SquarePants has random elements, but it's also, like, that's not the whole thing of it.
Okay. I was misunderstanding what you're saying.
Yeah, and I
get
like
you.
random silly fun can be fine, but I think that like I'm trying to remember. It's like Uncle, Granddad, something,
Grandpa, Uncle, Grandpa.
stuff like
Uncle.
you know what I'm thinking of.
I know
right?
what you're thinking of.
So like I didn't like that show just because it was like completely nonsensical, but like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents and
have like through lines that are not always entirely like just comedy.
Yeah, and I think that like, and I also think there's a difference between like being comedic and then just like being fun. Because I think with Code Lyoko, like sure they crack jokes that are like
but it's fun not because of that, but because it's like an adventure.
Yeah,
and like they're invested in how they do and like what happens.
Yeah, because like this makes me think. So like a big complaint of kind of like 90s Disney movies is that they always have the comic relief character. Like that's the huge complaint of Hunchback of Notre Dame, where the gargoyles are just like, I'm losing to a bird. Meanwhile, people are dying, and like Frollo is like an evil, lustful priest. And so I think that Code Lyoko does not like brush up against that, not just because they're like, these are kids making dumb kid jokes that they think are funny, instead of like, you know, having like everyone be serious and then Odd be like the designated comedy guy.
Yeah. The comedy kind of also serves to characterize the characters.
Yeah, well, because like I don't think they're making the funniest jokes on earth.
No, anytime they use the wah wah, it's a terrible joke.
Yeah, but like it's also the kind of joke that a kid that age would make.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'm like, hell yeah! That like Hollywood finally understands the humor of 10-year-olds.
I think I have a relevant thing.
Do not have a relevant thing. I will stop you.
I don't have the relevant thing.
We did it. All right. One thing that I won't say I dislike, but one thing that always jars me is the art style.
The 3D or 2D?
Both, but like it's mostly just the foreheads.
The foreheads. Ooh. Never mind. Wait, you. Right. You do know that Aelita gets out.
Yes.
The one thing that really throws me off is Aelita's the one person without a huge forehead, but she does have a huge forehead in Lyoko.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? And like looking at her design in Evolution and also the later seasons, she gets normal forehead in Lyoko as well.
Okay.
And it like matches up and matches better.
I just like...
But right now it looks like two different characters to me.
I don't want to say that the drawings don't look on model, or like are poorly... Because like, that's a criticism that I think is like usually in bad faith. Like, oh look, this character's a different size in this shot than they were in this shot. But like...
Sometimes.
It depends. Like, if it's a consistent problem, then I think you can bring it up, but, like,
yeah,
I think it's pretty bad faith. But, like, there's just, like, I'll look at Ulrich, and sometimes he'll be normal, and then he'll be, like, going to Lyoko, and he'll have, like, fucking, like, the tallest head on Earth.
I think that this is something they mostly fix in Season 2.
Okay.
Did you see my volume was all the way up again? How did that happen?
You did it to play the video.
Oh, thank you.
Finn has no object permanence. He's like, how did this thing that is a consequence of my own actions occur?
Yeah. No, they totally changed the art style for 3D in Season 2.
Okay.
And it's very different. I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's more expressive at least.
I also really like that they changed the card, like the midway cards or the transition cards. Halfway through Season 1.
Right.
Because in the first half, they're, like, boring. I fucking hate them. And then in Season 2, or Season 1, but the second half, they have, like, more colors and, like, the characters are in dynamic poses. I will say that, like, Aelita kneeling with face up, I saw that at first, and I was like, I know they're going for praying, but she's definitely, in a sexual position, and I hate it.
So do you know, like, the thing that happens immediately at the start of season 2?
I do not. What happens?
Should I say?
Sure.
They get, like, cars and shit in the Lyoko.
Oh, you did tell me this. That's right.
They're, like, the cards in the middle are all them, like, flying around on their cars. And it's much, much better.
Okay, good.
Like, Aelita, like, flies in and does a little, like, thing. It's super good.
I really... Listeners at home will not understand, but Finn says thing and does the weirdest pose I've ever seen. God. I don't know. I just, like... I like it. I think, this is one of those things that, like, one of the interesting things is I'll occasionally watch this in French, just with the subtitles, because that's what it originally is. And, like, people can point and be like, the dubbing for this is bad. And I'm like, the French is not too much better. Like, it's... And I'm not saying, like, it's the worst thing in the world, because I think things can have bad dubs and be fine. But, like, I just look at it and I'm like, God, like, they sound like awkward 11-year-olds is the thing.
That's another thing that immediately gets better in season 2.
Really? Okay.
Well, I don't know about the French dubbing, but the English dubbing sounds like much more like normal speech than the season 1 dubbing.
Also, hold on, how old are they supposed to be?
They're in 9th grade, so they're high schoolers. And
Yumi's in 10th grade.
Yeah.
So they're not 11, they're 14?
Something like that.
Still, I think, you know, they have the kid speak of... I think the stuff that I have said that is appropriate for them as 11-year-olds is also appropriate for them as 14-year-olds.
Only a 14-year-old or 11-year-old can make this sound.
Oh God, what are you going to do?
Not that. Wait. That is the sound of a child.
Yeah, I don't know. It turns out Code Lyoko is just an allegory for kids playing together. It's the Deltarune thing of it wasn't real at all. It's just them playing in a closet.
Not true.
France
was almost destroyed.
Could you imagine in, like, the last episode of the last season, they're just like, surprise, this was all just an elaborate game played by some kids.
No, that'd be... No, I think they, Oh, I lost my train of thought, never mind.
One of the minor things I really loved is, the blatant alien ripoff.
Yeah.
That they have, but it's not just that it's a blatant alien ripoff to us, like, it's in-universe a blatant alien ripoff.
Yeah.
It's also crucified.
Yeah. That was
Um,
quite an episode. Didn't, like, something else major happen in that episode? There was, like, a different arc going on at the same time that was... I forget.
I don't remember. Well, because it was...
Jeremy was also happening.
It was that they didn't want them to be, like, filming in that place because they might find the supercomputer.
Oh, no, I'm getting it confused with the episode where there was the fake Aelita in the real world.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
That was the laser episode, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a chaotic episode.
So one of the things I'm looking forward to is, like, not just explaining Xana's, like, backstory and things, but also how these kids came to find.
Yeah, that's something I
Lyoko.
know happens. I haven't seen it, but I've, like when I see the timeline, there's, like, later episodes are much earlier.
Yeah, so, and I don't know, well, it's probably a stylistic thing, but I also know of, like, what is it, Miraculous Ladybug is another French animation thing, but it got shown out of order in the West, so, like, some of the initial episodes aren't where they're supposed to be, so, like, something that gets explained isn't explained as soon as it's supposed to be, and I'm just like, guys, please, like, let me know how things came to be.
I wonder what you'll think about Haruhi when that happens.
Well, Haruhi is also, like, very intentionally like that,
Yeah.
from what I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the thing, is, like, non-linear storytelling, I think, can work, because, like, Pulp Fiction, or Haruhi, or, Primer. Boy, was I fucking trying to recall that. named like those are very intentionally done non-linearly and to like tell a story in an interesting way.
You might be surprised about Haruhi because it's very hard to tell why it's in the order that it is.
Okay, but I still trust that it is that way for a reason. But I think like I don't know. I also think that Code Lyoko is not like the world's greatest piece of art, so I don't think this detracts from it as much as if it were like like saying something, quote unquote.
It's kind of nice to and relaxing to watch something that's not the world's greatest piece of art.
Yeah,
because it's like a shit episode, whatever.
Yeah,
because you're not so invested. Like you're invested in the world and the characters because that's what they focus on, but you're not always invested in the total quality of every little thing. And
I think that's another really interesting thing that's come up recently that is like very frustrating. Is that a lot of things are trying to be like very good, instead of just like to exist to be fun. So like, hold on. All right, I have to pay for that session burp. But like a lot of anime right now, there is for some of it, it feels like it's trying to like become the next Naruto or the next like big thing. So like. Jujutsu Kaisen is like the thing that I'm watching now that's coming out right now, and it's good, but like it's very much like serious and trying to do this, that, and the other, which is part of the reason I kind of like sports anime, because I think they find a good balance between like
it feels like it's on more stable ground.
Yeah, because like it's a good balance of like I want my team to win, but also like oops, they just had a bad day, like next thing. Because I think oops, that was a bad episode, next episode is like a dirty idea now in fiction. But I think that like it can be fine. Like you're not going to ruin your show if you try out like an episode and it doesn't work.
Especially if you're doing something with a fuck ton of episodes.
Yeah.
Like that's something that like the 10 episode model cannot like cannot accommodate.
Yeah, and that's another thing is I think a lot of shows are being made smaller and smaller in length for like their seasons, and I think that's for binging reasons, which I personally dislike. Like, what is it? Is it Sherlock that had like 3 episodes a season?
Yeah,
and they were each 1.5 hour. Yeah, 1.5 hours long. Like, good God, what are you doing? Like, just fucking make 24 episodes, and they're each 30 minutes, and it's just a very small mystery, and make it Scooby-Doo.
It's just so much more. Yeah, exactly. Shows should just be Scooby-Doo. In fact,
like. As a matter of fact, I think Make It Scooby-Doo is like a good analogy for what I want for this, because Scooby-Doo has some very bad episodes. As a matter of fact, it had a whole bad season with Scrappy-Doo.
But its foundation is absolutely solid.
Yeah, because like that's the thing that I think a lot of people worry about, is they're like that my foundation isn't strong enough, like I have to keep building up stuff. Like, even stuff that I really love, like, My Hero Academia, like, has these really big, overarching, meaningful plots. But, like, I don't care about it. Like, some of, like, my favorite, my 2 favorite arcs from My Hero Academia are the School Festival arc, which you have seen, and then the Class 1A versus 1B arc, which you have not seen, but is coming out soon. And they're not about fighting villains or about like being the best hero ever. It's about, man, I want to make this school festival really good for this girl that I saved.
Yeah.
And this YouTube fucking vlogger Jake Paul looking ass is getting in my way.
Sorry, I'm starting to like pass out for some reason. I'm still here though.
And like what's the like 1A versus 1B is just like, yeah, it's just some kids fighting and, like, playing Capture the Flag. Because, like, I think that the worry is, like, you know, in my opinion, the foundation of almost everyone has a minor superpower is, like, a great, strong foundation for a show, and you could very much just have it be pretty episodic.
Like JoJo's part, like 3.
Yeah, and...
Or 4.
Well, I think both, but part 4 is better at it. Where part 4, like, sometimes you'll just have a shit stand user, like the guy with the lock. Where
which one was that?
The short guy, where he's like, "You ran over this cat, feel guilty."
Right.
Or like Okuyasu's brother. And like, you know, you don't dwell on it. You just go on to the next one, because having a town full of these kind of interesting stand users is like a good premise, and it stands on its own merit.
So I'm wondering what you're going to think of season 2, because this is another minor spoiler. Season 2 is a totally different structure.
Okay.
It's almost entirely serial, or as far as I'm going.
Okay.
Like, it's no longer, like, it's got episodic elements, but it's much more like previously on, blah, 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 and then we're going in this one direction.
I think it can be fine so long as it, like, gives itself breathing room.
Yeah.
That's...
I think, so far for me, it's, like, episodic enough, but I kind of do miss the totally episodic. But, I mean, they had a whole big-ass season of it. So
yeah.
Like, okay, season 1 Code Lyoko is the episodic one. That's fine. Season 2, we're moving on to just, like, these 2 or 3 particular plots.
So this is actually a really... So I think this, like, idea of, like, can you have bum episodes has a really interesting conjunction with, like, the problem with filler episodes. So people are like, I don't want filler in my anime because it takes away from the main plot. But, like, if you... And some filler is, like, bad. Like, don't get me wrong. But, like, some filler has really interesting ideas and just, like, wants to explore some neat stuff and, like, completely devoid of the stakes. And, like, hell yeah. Like, that, like, I think that works. Like, especially in One Piece, where one of the thrillers is just, like, they were coming down from Skypiea, which is basically an ocean in the sky.
Okay.
And they fought God, kind of. They fought a man proclaiming to be God. So, big stakes. And then they fall down, and in the manga, it just, like, kind of goes to the next thing. But there's a filler in the anime where they just, like, accidentally fell into a marine base when they were coming down. And so it's all of the crew trying to blend into the marine base and get their ship out. And I'm like, yes! It's so good!
I know nothing about this, but I'm hyped for that.
It's, like, it's one of those things that I'm just, like, you should feel free to throw in different genres to your thing, and feel free to let it breathe and do other stuff. Like,
and that's something the kind of serialization of season 2 is allowing more of, because we're no longer in the Xana launches an attack, they go to the tower kind of structure. Like, now we can have, minor spoiler, one episode they're working with Xana against a different enemy.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're in Lyoko fighting along with the monsters against a different enemy.
That's cool. Yeah, I think...
Or it's like exploring how Aelita relates to the outside world and how she's coming along in her classes and stuff.
Yeah, and like I think in the hands of someone that wants to be too pretentious, it's like, what does this say about the enemy of my enemy is my friend? And can we ever trust anyone that's... But like, I can't imagine Code Lyoko being... Can we trust Xana for a whole episode?
No.
Like it's gonna be, can we trust Xana? And Jeremy says no, and then everyone else says we gotta, and Jeremy says fine, and that's it. Like, I'm sure
I gotta tell you the premise.
Alright, give me
Jeremy
the premise.
fucks up big time and creates an enemy worse than Xana. And Jeremy's like, guys, I'm so sorry, but you and Xana have to fight this thing.
That's even better. So yeah, like, I think that's really great in that, like, it's not this moral quandary of should we do this.
It's like a very necessity, like, holy fuck, guys.
Yeah, because, like, you know, there's some times where, so, like, for example, in Marvel Comics, like, Sandman is, like, he oscillates between being a villain and then, like, a guy trying to do the right thing, but kind of, like, having moderate success. And so, like, I think the good stories are when Spider-Man teams up with Sandman to beat a bigger... actually, a better version of this is... So, Venom is, like, bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he and Spider-Man still team up to beat the shit out of Carnage because Carnage is a serial killer, whereas Venom kind of beats up muggers a bit too much.
It allows you to kind of get more perspective on your original quote-unquote villains.
Yeah, and especially with, like...
Or not even quote-unquote, but your original villains.
The good version of Spider-Man teams up with Venom is that he's like, hey, Eddie, we need to put aside our differences and beat this serial killer. And Eddie's like, yes. And the bad version is Eddie's like, hey, Peter, we need to team up to beat up this thing. And Peter's like, I don't trust you, no. And then tries to beat up Venom. And I'm like, stop. Just fucking please.
It adds a lot more complexity in there.
Yeah, because, like, sure. Are there times where you want to have deep examinations in your literature? Yes. But, like, don't get in your own way.
Yeah.
Don't try to have too much examination that you kind of forget to have, like, a fun reason for doing something.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. The me of this episode may sound like giving a blistering critique to, like, me of the past, where I'm like, I like Watchmen because it's a deconstruction of the hero, and, like, that's not the point. Watchmen was made with that very intention. It didn't start off as, like, the Watchmen are going to go save the day and then devolve into that. It had that purpose. So, if Code Lyoko becomes, like, what if Aelita is evil because she's an AI, and can we ever trust AIs? And there's a whole season of that. I'm gonna, like, throw myself out of a window.
I asked Sean, and they said that the general structure of the 4 seasons is it shifts from episodic all the way to serialized with mixtures in between.
Okay.
So, like, season 2 is the second most episodic, season 3 is the second most serial, season 4 is the most serial.
That works. I mean, I can't, like, I don't think that, like, unless they really fumble it, I don't think that Code Lyoko is going to get in its own way, because it was made, like, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they didn't have that problem 10 years ago as much.
Bad storytelling was invented 5 years ago.
You're right. No, I don't know. I'm very impressed that we were like, we're going to talk about Code Lyoko and we don't know what else. And then it was like, actually, we're talking about fiction in general. Surprise, it's always been that way.
I don't know why Tommy Wiseau left. Well, I gotta go. I got an email from my advisor who texted me comments on my final. So I want to look at that. And then we've got Biden's address at 8.
And I got work.
Oh, right, you're working then.
Yeah.
We'll give you the updates.
I will see if work is willing to show it. Anyways, it's time for, I almost said shout-outs. Plugs. Do the plugs.
We've got an email, foolsandfiction@gmail.com.
That might change soon.
Yeah, that might change soon because I'm getting so much spam. We might be on the network, we're not sure, but you should check out the podcasts that are on the Luminary Network at Spreaker.com/user/PNWM. We have a subreddit, r/foolsandfiction, where you can comment on episodes, like the YouTube comment section if you want. If you want to be in an episode, let us know.
You're forgetting one.
Leave us a rating and review on the podcast app.
That's the one. I had something that I wanted to say, and then I forgot it.
Oh, yeah, watch Code Lyoko on Netflix.
Yeah. Watch our D&D.
Oh, yeah. We got a D&D podcast. Or actual play show. Whatever it's called.
We're playing D&D and we're monetizing it. It is Tales from the Galactic Gazette.
No. Galactic Gazette, Tales from the Venture Guild.
You're right. I'm sorry. I said that and I'm like, no. Those words are in that, but it's not that.
Although, I will give us a slight hint at the future. Tales from the Venture Guild is the Season 1 name. It's Tales from something else for Season 2.
Oh.
Galactic Gazette is the show name.
Are we never... Do we get kicked out of the Venture Guild of this upcoming session?
No. But I believe you all will probably not be in it after the time skip.
That's probably true. Alright.
And there's a different focus.
Tradition. Do I have enough
You
cord?
need to like a hose.
Goodbye. love of God, turn the podcast off.